Hello everyone, this is Ron back with another in my series of HDR videos where I'm trying to compare several of the HDR compatible drones that I own against the new Mavic Air 2, which of course has HDR video. And so in our first video we compared the Air 2 to the Skydio 2, which also has the HDR feature. And you know, I got a lot of good feedback on that video, and you know, a lot of people thought the Skydio was better, and a lot of people thought the Air 2 was better. So it was kind of maybe a split decision, somewhat. You know, I don't add up the votes per se, but it seemed like it was pretty even. Maybe I weighed a little heavily more towards the Mavic Air 2. But in today's video, we have the Parrot Anafi. A lot of people forget about the Anafi. It came out almost 2 years ago. I believe it came out around July 1st, 2018, and today's date is June 17th, 2020. And this is the first drone that I owned that had an HDR feature built in. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about true HDR, that only the Mavic 2 Pro with the HLG can do true HDR. And we're not talking about true HDR here. We're just talking about, you know, an HDR button or you know, feature on these affordable camera drones. So it may not be true real HDR, but it's an effect that the drones do in software, is the simple as I can say. But back to, you know, the main focus is. So we took this up, this 2-year-old drone, up against the Mavic Air 2. We put the settings on 4K, 30 frames per second with HDR enabled, and everything else was on full auto, Dr. Auto, as I like to say, you know, auto white balance, auto exposure, you know, I said Dr. Auto. And then we threw it into iMovie to do the editing, and in iMovie we did not do any color correction, and we did not do anything at all except, you know, chop the video up into bits. And I did my best to kind of fly the same route that I did, you know, with both drones. Now, I didn't do as good as a job as I did in the Skydio and Mavic Air 2 comparison, but I flew in the same areas, kind of got to the same shots. They don't match up quite as well as the previous video, but you know, you'll get the idea. Now, in the first video, that one that's already posted, I flew the Skydio first and the Air 2 second. Where in this video, I switched it up. I flew the Air 2 first and the Anafi second. And I have a little more footage of the Anafi flight than I do the Air 2 flight, but that's okay, because in the first video, the Air 2 got a little more screen time, so it kind of balances out here. So, you know, I'll be interested to see what you think. You know, which one you thought was better, and you know, what you thought of the overall video quality. Now, you know, I saw a couple things. At one point, the Anafi had a little tilted horizon issue going on, I believe, which is uncommon for this bird. I never remember a horizon issue before, but I definitely think I saw some horizon tilt at some point. Both drones had a bit of lens flare when they were aimed at the sun. I flew about, I think I started to fly about an hour, you know, before sunset. And, you know, I flew the Air 2 first, as I said, and, you know, after I landed that, within 5 minutes, I was back up in the air with the, you know, with the Anafi, so not much time elapsed between flights, but I do have to say the light was changing quickly there, so the light was a little darker for the Anafi than it was, you know, the Air 2, and whether that's good or bad, that's, you know, for you to determine. But again, I did see a little lens flare in both of them when there was point to sun, and I would say a very acceptable lens flare, not the crazy lens flare you get on a drone like the Xeno 2 or whatever. This was perfectly acceptable lens flare. And I noticed there's a shot, I think it's with the Anafi at one point, where it's flying near the sun, and the ground is really, you know, underexposed. Like, you can hardly see anything in the sun. Like, the HDR maybe didn't do a good job of balancing that out, but in a later shot, it did very well in balancing it out. So I kind of don't know why it was so erratic, and how it, you know, the HDR effect didn't correct the darkness in the bottom half of the screen on the first, like that one shot, you know, near the beginning, but it did on the shot later on, you know, almost the same way facing into the sun. Whether the degree of the sun setting had anything to do with that, I'm not sure, but Anyhow, so that's a couple things, I noticed, that the tilted horizon and, some of the lens flare. And so, just be on the lookout for little things like that. I thought it was an interesting test. And again, let me know, what you thought of the video down below in the comments. And, whether you enjoy this type of video. I know Marcus Crawford has been working on some HDR videos also, and he did his during the middle of the day. So if you say, yeah, I couldn't really tell much because it was sunset or whatever, and I fly in the middle of the day, well, perfect. Go over to Marcus's video. He flew all 3 drones I just discussed in almost, in the middle of the day when the sun was as high as, so you can use that video kind of a comparison to what they look like when they were flying. I will say golden hour, but okay, let's run the video, and if I need to pop back in again and describe anything to you, I will, and maybe we'll do a short conclusion at the end of the video. So sit back, enjoy, and we'll revisit with you at some point in this video. Okay. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, the HDR comparison between the Air 2 and the Anafi, Parrot Anafi. I thought that the 2-year-old Anafi did a very good job, you know, considering its age, holding up against the newer Air 2. You know, let me know what you think down in the comments. But again, for a bird that's 2 years old here, almost, it holds up remarkably against some of the newer drones out there, especially in the camera department. You know, it's showing its age a little bit on its image transmission and battery life as compared to the newer drones. But as far as its camera qualities and features in the app, such as, you know, smart shots and whatever, it still holds its own very, very well. And I think Marcus just reported to me the other day that this drone can be found right now for about $425 on Amazon as a refurb, I believe. So, anyways, if you're enjoying this HDR content, please go over and check my former video where we did Skydio 2 HDR versus the Mavic Air 2 HDR. If you want to see more HDR videos on the channel, let me know down below in the comments too. You know, but in any case, you know, we will see you on the next one.